broadcasting live from 13th floor Church House. You're welcome to Issues at Hand. My name is Karen Noamani and it is the 23rd of June 2023. We are here to still derive some information about a lot of things, especially things that affect us as a society. And of course, it is a Friday. Being a Friday, I have somebody from the Uganda police to give us some information, detailed information about some of the areas of police, about some of the areas that the public needs to be aware of, and how to handle some situations in case you find yourself in them. It is Issues at Hand. You are welcome. Now, before I start off, I'd like to remind you that, of course, Protea Hotel by Marriott is your comfort place to be in case you are looking for something luxurious, for a luxurious way to spend maybe your weekend as well as your week. Since we are getting into the weekend, I would like to remind you they do have a fully stocked gym, a kitchen, and as well as other facilities like swimming pool in case you want to spend a night. Everything you can find it at Protea Hotel by Marriott. To start off with our conversation today, I have a guest in studio. His name is Kitagenda Sadiq, and he is the superintendent of the Uganda Police. You're welcome to studio this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me at Family TV Church House.
Yes.
It's my first time to be here.
Oh, you're
yeah,
welcome.
It's really an honor. Yes, as you introduced, I'm Kitagenda Sadiq from Police Headquarters in Agulu.
Yes.
Attached to Directorate of Forensic Services. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us. You are from the Directorate of Forensics. What exactly does this directorate do? What does it handle? What is it about?
Directorate of Forensic Services does a number of things, mostly to support operational units and investigative units of police. And mostly we use science to solve the most complicated puzzles in the area of our work. We have a lot of capacities at Directorate of Forensic Services. We have disciplines of science like forensic biology, forensic chemistry. We have ballistics, which deals with firearms. We have question documents. We have other areas like digital forensics, which is under cybercrime. So all these areas are there to support investigation and operational work of police.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course, some of the things we cannot get into details, but you mentioned questioned documents. That is where we have the DNAs and stuff. Could you highlight a bit about the services? And is there a charge for them?
Yeah, there are a number of services in the Directorate of Forensic Services that we provide on behalf of police. And some are open to the public. Others are to support investigations, like in the area of question documents. But the most common one is a certificate of good conduct, which is that one is open to public. It's on our police website. If someone wants to acquire a police clearance certificate or certificate of good conduct, he can go on that website, as we shall see. Then these other areas, like forensic biology, we have a state-of-the-art lab that helps us to solve a number of questions surrounding biological evidential materials, such as blood, saliva, and other aspects that may require examination. They are delivered across the country, and we do the examination and we provide the evidence to court. All these are in form of services. We have other services that are not directly in line with investigation. These may be DNA, but the DNA we do is really to help the investigation arrive at a desired conclusion, because we have other labs in the country, such as a government analytical lab that does the similar work. If someone wants, I know there is a liaison DNA demand for DNA services. Ours, we are not yet open to the public to provide DNA services to but one day is there just in case someone is interested in that service.
Okay.
And we have other services under ballistics. That's a department that does firearm examination and tool marks. That department also supports Directorate of Inter and International Relations in examination of motor vehicles. There are some motor vehicles which require examination prior to registration, especially the vehicles that fall into luxury, like these Range Rovers, V8, those very expensive vehicles. When they are imported from other countries, they are supposed to be examined prior to registration in this country. Other areas where you may need to do vehicle examination when you lose the number plate of the vehicle and need to register it. You may require to do that examination to establish whether the engine and the chassis number have been altered. So the report should indicate whether there are any modifications to those areas of the vehicle. If there is any modification, we shall inform URA and they do further inquiry about the vehicle before they issue a new number plate.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And of course, for the public to remember that in case you are to get a new number plate for your car, talking about car examination, and if you are to get to replace your old number plate, remember that the government is planning for us to go digital, and so the number plates must have trackers right from I think July, and of course we're not going to get into that, but I was just giving a brief background. In case you are to acquire a new car, you must know that the number plates are going to cost around 713,000 Uganda shillings for a new number plate that has a tracker with it. Replacement will cost about 150,000, but today we are going to look at, like you mentioned, a certificate of good conduct. What is it, how you can get it, and who exactly can qualify to get it. But before we get into that, when we hear about the Directorate of Forensics, of course, our minds run to crime scenes or scenes of crime. You handle such things. What is a scene of crime? How should the public react in case they are told this is a scene of crime?
Yes. Well, a scene of crime, when a crime happens in any space, let it be a digital space or a physical space, that area becomes a scene of crime. A scene of crime, we all have responsibilities to it. Members of public have the responsibilities to a scene of crime, and also police in general has a scene of responsibilities at the scene of crime, and also has the experts. We also have our own responsibilities at the scene of crime. If one of the entities does not play their part, the integrity of the scene of crime is going to be violated, and by the time we come to pick the evidential materials, we possibly have a contamination, or possibly some of the evidential materials could have been modified, whichever the way. So what we need to know as public is that when we have an area which has been demarcated as scene of crime, you may know it or you may not know that it is a scene of crime, because that's another confusion. Most people may not know that this is actually a scene of crime or even its extent, because when I find, for example, someone who has collapsed in a car, is unconscious, there's that first thing that you need to do as a first responder. You must first establish whether that person is alive. It's a responsibility of the public. You don't have to wait for police to save someone's life. If you see that there's something you can do to save someone's life, you can do that. It does not, because someone may say, now this is a scene of crime, someone is losing his life, and you fail to do something about it. It's important that when you see that there is a need to save life, you can first do that. And when you do, you don't run away. You stay around and inform us that actually I did ABCD on the scene. So there's something we do to make sure that we eliminate you from our investigations. So because most cases people do that first responding work and then they walk away. Then we have clues that may lead us to a person who was actually a first responder in the first place. So it's very important that the public understands their responsibility, which one, understanding the extent of the scene. That's one of the most important things, so that you don't step beyond that point. And this is in regard to scenes of crime that could be physical. There are some scenes of crime which are not physical, like digital space, like people who commit crimes on social media, attack others, cyber stalking. You may not know the extent of that scene, but when it becomes important that we need to examine that scene, you may also have a responsibility as a person who could be a victim you have a responsibility, as we shall see. So with a scene of crime, there's what we call the first responder. The first responder at the scene, there are things you should have at the back of your mind. You don't need to be technical in a scene of crime, but one, understand the extent. Extent means if someone is in the car, how far are you from the car? Are you supposed to touch the car? Are you supposed to open the door? If you have established that the person is actually unconscious and he needs maybe you need to examine. You can do that to examine to establish whether he's actually dead. If he's dead and you've confirmed, don't touch anything else. And you stay there and inform us that I did ABCD just to make sure the person needed any kind of aid that you could provide. And then you, as the first responder, you being the first person there, don't encourage other people to come and do what you've done. Tell them they have confirmed this person is dead. If you don't have capacity, because also there's that fear that comes when someone sees such a thing, they get into shock. And then everyone comes, and then by the time people have surrounded the whole area and they are contaminating everything in the place. So basically, you should know the extent and avoid overstepping the area which you've seen, because sometimes people may put a barrier, or they may stand at a distance waiting for police to arrive, but we may come and we widen. We may come and we widen the perimeter of the scene. So the most important thing for the public is to make sure that you don't overstep. Keep a distance from a scene. Okay. If there are people who can help, maybe there's someone who needs first aid, first keep at the distance, and if you can't do something, don't encourage others, that you don't go in a group and begin touching everything at the scene.
All right.
Basically, scene of crime, it is public knowing the extent. And also there are people who witness, for example, a crime is in progress, and they have seen some perpetrators either leave the scene or someone came in just after he picked something and walked away. They could have some valuable information that may assist the investigation. It's very important for you to actually be there, wait for the officers who are processing the scene, and you give us that narrative, because it's very important. Sometimes we are so green about what has happened, but even a slight information like that could guide us into, because someone may say, no, there were some people who came up first and they picked something and they went away. It's important for us to know who they were, so that we interview them. What did you pick? Then we can now, there's what we call elimination. We can pick their prints, so their shoe impressions, to exclude them from our crews that are supposed to be subjected to further inquiry. Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. There is something that happened recently in Chanja where Ismail Access, the blogger, was shot dead. I saw people coming out to the crime scene exactly. They were recording videos. They were freely leaving and coming in and exiting the crime scene. What should they have done? Did they act professionally? Because about 30 minutes later, the video was online and it was moving all over. And of course, some of those pictures were disturbing to see. Did the public really act in a civilized way? What should they have done in that case?
When it comes to that, there are certain images which could traumatize either family or even the public. And also there's what we call after effect. How do you want to remember the deceased? Do you want to remember him at that particular time when he was assassinated? It's very important for people to realize that it's very important to keep sanctity of human life. You don't have to expose, because some people could be triggered to think this is actually achievable. Someone who may not even be thinking of killing anyone may say, actually, you can kill a person.
Very true.
It could trigger some other people, because we have different triggers as human beings. There are some who looks at something and then he says, oh, this is actually possible. You can even do that. People have enemies and they say, but who are these people? How do I get to these people? I would like also to hire gunmen and they assist me in doing this kind of thing. So when you take footages and put them online, you are actually promoting violence. You are trying to desensitize public. There are things that people should not do freely, like recording someone instead of you respond. For example, there's at times when accidents happen. And people, instead of really helping, they are taking photographs, they are taking videos. But you could have done a responsive work of assisting the people who are aggrieved, try to help them, put them away from the road, from the danger, because there are other vehicles that could come and finish them off. First, remove them from the road, put them aside, try to see how to really help them. But this habit of recording and sending and sharing, this can tomorrow happen to you. And people will do the same thing. So the responsibility of the public really should be, first of all, preserve the sanctity of human life. Don't do that explosive work to really make life look so cheap. You have that responsibility. We all have a responsibility as human beings to make sure that the sanctity of human life is protected and preserved.
Okay, thank you so much. Right there is where I want to get into our discussion of today, which is the certificate of good conduct. Of course, this is a certificate that is asked in various places, but where do you get it from? How do you get it? And are you qualified to get one? Let's begin with the explanation of what exactly a certificate of good conduct is and what it entails. What is a certificate of good conduct?
Certificate of good conduct is, first of all, it's a service we provide to the public, and it came out of need. The public demanded to have them cleared criminally so that they can access other services like employment, contracts. There are so many reasons as to why people apply for this service. But maybe to enlighten the public, because this document is known to some people, not everyone actually. There are some people who come and say, they have told me to bring a police later. They don't clearly know what it is, how it looks like. It's their first time to hear of this. But a certificate of good conduct is a police form called Police Form 100-02. It is issued to individuals who are eligible in terms of criminal background. You don't have a conviction, you will qualify for a certificate of good conduct. But there are actually two documents, not just certificate of good conduct. It's a police clearance and a certificate of good conduct. So public needs to know also, when do I need one of the two documents? When do I need a certificate of good conduct? When do I need a police clearance? Those are one of the areas we are going to see. Okay. But this is a service, and it's available to all members of the public. Don't shun away from it because you think you were arrested at some point. Now, how will I get this later if I was actually arrested at some point? Probably they will not give me. That's not how we work. I'm going to elaborate to you. Even when you were arrested, you could actually be a beneficiary of this document, as we are going to see. So the first thing, certificate of good conduct is payable. It's not free. You have to pay some fees, 76,000, payable to the bank. It's not given in cash. I've seen scenarios where people pay officers or some brokers to help them process this document. But it is payable. You pay this money in the bank. After applying and they generate for you a payment reference, you will go in the bank and pay. So it's not money for us. It's money. It goes actually in URA for revenue collections. Okay. So the police clearance certificate is also issued in the same way. It's a little bit, the prices are a little bit lower. It is 26,000, and it's also payable in the bank. And we shall elaborate under what circumstances do you need a police clearance certificate, and when do you need a certificate of good conduct. Okay.
Let's start right there. When do you need a certificate of good conduct, and when do you need a police clearance? In which scenarios?
Yes. Certificate of good conduct is issued to people mostly who, one, have a history of travel or they are planning to travel. Because the reason why it is issued by the Directorate of Interpan International Relation is because Interpan International Relation hosts an international database for criminals.
Okay.
So if you are planning to travel and tender this document outside the country, you must have been screened on both databases, the local database, which is the Uganda Police database, and the international database, which Interpol actually hosts. That's why it is issued at Interpan International Relation. But I would want people to know that when you apply for certificate of good conduct, you do not get only certificate of good conduct. We first clear you locally. You first do the background check in our local database. When I say local database, that's the central database of the police and the central database of this country. The entire justice sector, including the prison, judiciary, office of the DPP, all their input in the process of administering justice, all those records are consolidated at one point, which is at police headquarters in Naguru.
Okay.
All police stations around the country, when someone is arrested, we make sure we capture all the details of that person, and all those records come back to our main database. Most people don't know that Uganda, we have a central database. Actually, I've been surprised by so many people when I tell them, but where do you get it? When do you know that I committed a crime? How do you know? Is this document even authentic? Because people doubted the authenticity of this document. Say, do you really know all the criminals in this country? Because these questions have come a lot. But I would want to assure the members of the public that we have now capacity to document all our suspects once they are in our custody. Those ones who have been there, they know what I am talking about. Those ones who have not been there, please don't go there. Because when you go there, we are going to capture your details, and they will become a permanent record. And that record is not going to be disposed tomorrow. It's going to be there for years.
For life.
Every time you apply for this service, it will show up.
So somebody can be arrested in Rukunjiri for theft.
Yes.
And in Naguru headquarters, you will know that
we shall know. We shall know. We have some capacity now to know that you've been you are in our custody at some point.
So such a person is traveling out of the country and they need the certificate of good conduct. But they were arrested before. How do you handle that issue?
There are ways. There are ways. Maybe before I rush into that, I would want to underscore the differences between these two documents.
Okay.
Because when I go into what you did, what happened, whether it was a conviction or we closed it at the police, it will impact which document you are going to get. Between the certificate of good conduct and the police clearance.
Okay.
It will affect, those results affect how we are going to serve you. Because this is also a service, a demand-driven service. We are not the ones who put up the obligation that everyone should have. No, you come and say, I want to know, then we give you the information. You actually pay for your own information. So, certificate of good conduct its standard is conviction. For you to be eligible for certificate of good conduct, you should never have been convicted of any crime. You should never have been convicted.
Petty the crime is.
As long as it's a conviction. And when I say conviction, there are so many confusions, because there are some people we give these results and they are like, but I paid the fine. They told me to pay a fine. You have never been to prison. So they think that the conviction means you have to be taken to prison. But a conviction could mean a caution in court. You were cautioned by the court. That means they actually realize you are guilty of this crime, of this allegation. So when they caution you, you've been convicted. When you pay a fine and they tell you, okay, pay back the money, it means they have found you responsible. When you pay, you've been convicted. So some people, when they are cautioned and set free, they think, that was not a conviction, because they just told me I should not do it again. So they feel, because there is no custodial sentence, they feel like, this is not a conviction. But actually, all those are convictions. And once you are convicted, you can never benefit from certificate of good conduct, because the information on that document clearly states that this person has never been convicted in this country. Has never been convicted in this country or come under any advance notice. Advance notices, we get them from I-247 platform of Interpol, where they search your passport and they establish. But now someone will say, if I don't have a passport, can they search my national ID on the same platform? No, they don't. We only for Interpol, they only search for passports because it's an international platform.
Okay.
So for police clearance certificate, it is a document that gives the information of results of your fingerprint examination. It's called police clearance certificate, or the other name for it is results of fingerprint examination. When you say fingerprint examination, before you acquire that document, you must submit your fingerprints. Your fingerprints will allow the system run a search into the database and establish, because you may be questioning yourself, wondering, how do these people know that it is actually me? Can't they mistake me for another person? That's why we use biometrics. We use biometric. These include fingerprints and facial. But right now, the platform we are using exploits the fingerprints to run searches and arrive at your identity. It can never pick a fingerprint that does not match yours.
Okay.
Once it matches, it will tell us that this person has been with us before. And then we shall look at that interaction between you and our database. Was it a criminal? Because we have so many interactions. We run so many databases. It could be that we took your fingerprints previously when you came to apply for certificate of good conduct. And also that's another area that has attracted a lot of omissions. People have been coming in subsequent repetitive time, and sometimes the documents are not similar. And that's one of the reasons why you may not get the certificate of good conduct, as we may see. Because if we realize that you're switching documents, today you bring this, tomorrow you bring another one. Because we don't expect you to hold the two identities, two national IDs or two passports. It's illegal. So if you are transacting on different multiple documents, with the exception of people who have the local passport and the international passport, because then if you have a dual citizenship certificate, then that's okay, because we don't expect you to have two passports of Uganda and you are transacting on both of them.
A dual citizenship certificate is also given by police?
No, a dual citizenship certificate, you acquire it under immigration. You say that I'm a citizen, I'm a British citizen, but I'm also a Ugandan. So you apply, because there are some people who are already Ugandan citizens, but they get another citizenship in another country. So you will bring the certificate of citizenship from another country, and this one of Uganda, and you apply for dual. Okay. That allows you to carry two passports for two different countries.
All right. I would want to understand, of course, under what circumstances does somebody have to get the two documents, the police clearance and the certificate of good conduct. But that is after a very short break. Please do stay with us. We will be back with issues at hand. Yes, of course, comfort and luxury at its best when you visit Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe, where they have a fully stocked gym, a well-furnished kitchen where you can get yourself lunch, dinner, as well as breakfast. Of course, with the swimming pool facility, as well as sleep in case you are to stay there for the weekend. You are taking your family out. Please remember that Protea Hotel by Marriott is the place to be. We are still discussing the impact of a certificate of good conduct from the Uganda Police. Who needs this document? Where do you need it? And can it be renewable? All this with our guest this morning, Superintendent of Police, Kitagenda Sadiq. We are discussing how exactly to get one if I'm in need. For example, if I need a job here at Family TV and they've sent me for police clearance, do I get police clearance for free? Is it payable? How much is it? And of course, if they send me for a certificate of good conduct, how much do I need to pay the government for me to get that certificate? And if I pay for a certificate of good conduct, do I get the police clearance together with it? Let's start from the fees right there. How much does someone have to have that certificate?
Well, these two documents, when you apply for certificate of good conduct, you are eligible for both and the payment is 76,000.
Okay.
It's a compounded cost. When you apply for police clearance certificate, you only get a police clearance certificate at a cost of 26,000.
Okay.
And when you apply for certificate of good conduct, it is implied that you must have both documents, because then when you're a manager here and you tell someone go and get a police clearance or go and get certificate of good conduct, someone should not tender only certificate of good conduct. He has to tender 2 documents. And that's important because there are some people we clear who are never convicted, but they could have been arrested, and that information is always on the police clearance certificate. It is very misleading for someone to present one document like a certificate of good conduct without the other one, because there could be information is trying to hide from a person who requested for this information. And when you're paying, the payment system is actually the same. You pay through the URA. You go to any bank. Actually, all banks now, when you go there and tell them I'm paying for certificate of good conduct, they know where that money goes. Okay. They will give you because you already have a printed out payment slip, which you will present to them. They will put the money where it's supposed to go. Then they will issue with a receipt that shows that you've cleared. Yeah.
All right. Maybe let's look at in case somebody was convicted before, but they need the certificate of good conduct. What do they do and how do they go about it? Are they eligible to get one?
Well, back then, because the police clearance certificate, we just revived it. We were using the certificate of good conduct only. But being that its standard is the conviction, we realized that people will miss out because they have paid already. Then you are telling them you are not qualifying. And in some instances, I could have been given money by the manager at my work to go and do this process, and then I'm telling him they have denied me. What shows that they have denied you? So we thought it that we revive our police clearance certificate, which provides information of fingerprint examination, such that you have a report that details your predicament, that shows that you don't actually qualify. So that police clearance certificate will have information, much as you are not going to benefit from certificate of good conduct. You have a police clearance certificate to show that you actually went through the process, but because there was a conviction, you did not benefit from certificate of good conduct. And whoever is requesting for this information will be able to understand. And this information, on much as could be a conviction, I want people to know that these crimes that people are convicted of have different magnitude and the way we interpret them. Some people commit crimes out of ignorance. Some people commit crimes that either in a peer, they find you in a group, and all of a sudden you're a suspect, and then accidentally you are convicted. So these misdemeanors, which like curfew, like we had COVID-19 where people are arrested, in that kind of way, an employer would understand that this was locked down. This cannot deter this person from actually working with us. It may not be an issue after all. But people who are convicted of grave crimes like robbery, murder, in that kind of way, you may realize that that could impact differently on a person who is trying to employ you, that information. So I want people to not fear to give this information to whoever has requested for it, because he has that discretion of saying I can deal with this or I can't deal with this. So don't hide that information, because there are so many cases which don't carry much magnitude, like that COVID-19 lockdown where people were arrested, and most people actually were convicted because there was a pre-bargain arrangement at courts where people were being presented. Don't waste court's time. You are very many. If you plead not guilty, you are going to prolong a process. You are very many, and every day they are bringing new people to court. So what they did, the court would benefit them with a pre-bargain arrangement and tell them, just say you are guilty, you pay the fine, and you walk away from here. Do you have to go to prison and wait for trial? Then the people were just saying, okay, let us pay the fine. And they find themselves being convicted unknowingly. So in such circumstances, we understand when such a thing happens. Come and pick your information, present it to the employee, and tell them that this is my situation. We were ABCD, and this happened. So in that kind of circumstance, people tend to shun away. Actually, there are some who come, even do the process of applying, because after 7 working days, if you don't get your certificate, people begin to worry. They begin to say, now they're not going to give me because I have a what? A record. It's important that you do a follow-up. And this is an area which we are having a lot of challenges, because this information tend to be a bit crossed out from the public. And when you go to apply, the people who are handling you, they're going to tell you, you have a what? You have a record. And once you know that, you have to seek guidance from them. What do I do after? Yes, I have a record. I understand. What do I do now? How do I handle this situation? So we have record officers, or the officers who are in charge of the process. They will guide you, because we have a criminal records officer at police headquarters. We shall get that information that this person did not benefit, but how do we handle the process? Because there are some people who have ongoing cases. You have an ongoing case in court, or your case is still under investigation, you are on bond. Under those circumstances, we usually don't give any feedback. We tell you, wait a bit, let the investigation be concluded, then we shall get the results of your case, and we give you a police clearance certificate. It's still your document, you paid for it, you will get the information. And where someone has a conviction, still we shall put that information. At times, like capital cases delay in court, where a court may take even 3 years without concluding a matter, but you are on bail, because the people are released on bail as the investigations are going on. So in that kind of circumstance, we shall not be clearing you until that case is concluded.
So the person can't get the certificate?
He cannot get the certificate until because we don't know the verdict. It could come out and affect the way we shall respond to you. If it's a conviction, that means we have to take another decision. If it's not a conviction, we also take another decision. So the result of that case is important to us to establish our position. What information are we supposed now to deliver back to you? And another area which is also bringing a lot of concerns from the public, we have 2 centers. We have now the Naguru Biometric Center, which does a similar work. And when people come to apply, sometimes they don't know. They don't even know. They know that now this is the police website. I'm supposed to apply for this service. They don't know even where Kololo is. They don't know even where Naguru is. So when they are given those 2 options, they just click for the sake of it. But it's important for people to know that those who are staying that area of the eastern side, you can use that center of Naguru, because it will be near to your area. Those ones who are coming from this side of Kampala, the southern side, you can use Kololo, because it will be a bit nearer for you. And the other thing, these 2 centers provide the same services. You once you go to any of the centers, you will be able to get a similar service. Don't say that I will go to Kololo because that's where the issue, the interpolator, because they call it interpolator most times. And when you call it interpolator, it feels like when I go to Naguru, they will not be able to give me that, because it is only issued at Interpol. No, these are all police centers. You can go there and access this service. Maybe there is another center which is not so open to public, but still we are serving public. It is at Entebbe International Airport, but it is for civil aviation staff and people who work at the airport. Okay. Because we realize that one, there are so many foreigners at the airport who need this service, and that's a unique decision. We need to first establish these people, whether they are staying long here, whether they already have resident permits and things like that. So we created for them a special arrangement to allow them access us. And some people don't actually have time, like the pilots, the engineers, they don't have the time to actually move to Kampala. So we created for them a service at the airport, and it's only for the staff of the airport. But we are planning to open up more centers, especially up country. We already have this capacity up country.
Because I'm wondering if somebody is in Masaka,
Yes,
Mbarara,
yes,
do
yes.
they have to first come to Naguru and Kololo, or what do they do in case they are out of
People who are up country, we are going to extend this service in the near future. We already have the platforms there, but they are handling criminal processes. They don't handle civilian processes. But we are going to open up these services soon, such that people in faraway country, up country like Arua, Mbarara, they are able also to apply via those centers. Okay. They don't have to travel to Kampala.
You talked about foreigners, and I want to understand the criteria for a foreigner to get this certificate of good conduct, because I'm imagining somebody has come from Canada, somebody has come from wherever they are coming from to Uganda, and they need this certificate. Can Uganda police give it to them? Are they eligible to get it?
As long as you have a visa, which shows that you actually entered the country, and it's in your passport, a record of entry into the country. It could be entry or both entry and exit, because you could be applying from outside, or you could be a foreigner applying within the country. So when you're a foreigner, those are the two things we require, because we don't want to begin running searches on a person who has never been in the country in the first place, or he was there illegally, because that's another thing. Because you could have been in Uganda, but then you were not there illegally. That some people cross the borders and they are here, and then they are demanding for the service, and then they are foreigners. And then when they were entering, their passports were not stamped by immigration. Those people, we don't serve them, because we don't have proof that you've stayed in the country and then you had contact with the law enforcement. We can't just have that assumption. So we must have that fact in your passport before we do the searches.
Okay.
Yes.
How about a Ugandan who is in the diaspora? Somebody is in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and they need the certificate of good conduct. They are Ugandan, but they are out of Uganda. Do they get it, and how do they get it?
Yeah, they are actually. I'm glad I'm here. I would want to underscore the importance of people leaving the country. It's very important for you to do this process before you leave. It may not cost you much time, it may not cost you a lot of money, but it is very expensive to pursue these two documents when you are out of the country. Because two things are going to happen. When you are outside the country and you need any services in those countries, let it be resident permit, employment, there's chances are high that they're going to require that vetting, that background check on you. And once that happens and they require this document, trust me, you are going to be in the worst scenario possible, because it would require you to either fly back to Uganda, but lucky enough, we have made it possible for people to actually export fingerprints from foreign countries to Uganda via DHL. But the requirement is you have to do that at police. Go to the police in that country. For example, we are receiving a lot of foreign fingerprints from Abu Dhabi police, Dubai police, whichever it is, but it has to be from police, because there are some other private vendors in those countries who do similar services. But we realize that there is a lot of fraud. Some people who are skilled, somehow they can take these fingerprints from another person and they send them to us that they are yours. So we require that you go to a police station which has to do a certification stamping on those fingerprints before they are delivered to Uganda. In that kind of way, you also attach your passport, which shows you a Ugandan, or I'm a foreigner who has ever lived in Uganda. And the visas also have to be attached on the same fingerprints. So they are delivered. We shall be able to work on them as long as our payments have been confirmed that you've paid, and the fingerprints are there, and they are because at times they come in a manner which is not examinable. Someone who took them poorly, and that's why we are now telling all members of the public that if you find yourself in that situation, go to police, because these people are trained in taking the fingerprints. Don't go to private vendors or friends that may help you do a similar thing, because they're going to take them. You incur the cost of couriering them, and then we shall reject them. And that will be a double cost and a delay, of course, on your side. So foreigners can actually apply for this service as long as they have a confirmation of entry and exit stamps of Uganda, or they have resident permits, or they have a dual citizenship certificate, which shows that they are citizens of Uganda and another country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have one certificate my whole life and keep photocopying to give whoever needs, or do I need to keep getting the certificate of good conduct?
It depends on the person requesting for this information. There are some people who are free transacting on an expired document, but that would be a huge risk, because ours is even takes a long time, because ours is 6 months. In other countries is 3 months. Because even in a month you could have committed a crime.
True.
So we were lenient to say no, we don't want public to renew a document after 1 month or 3 months. We gave it 6 months, to be lenient to the public. And what usually happens is when you have your document having been issued by us, because I'm seeing a huge number of people who bring these documents when they are forged, and this is how they get them. Well, there are so many other ways, but this is what we learned. There are people who go in companies, these labor export companies, and they are told to just pay money, and this document will be processed for them. This is a big mistake. There's no way we can process certificate of good conduct without doing fingerprint capturing. If you have never captured fingerprints and you are out there and you need to renew your document, don't bother sending it, because if you have never taken fingerprints, it means that document was not issued by us. That's a logical conclusion. If you have never taken fingerprints and you are holding this document, if it was given to you by anyone, even if it's a police officer, but you've never taken fingerprints, that document is not authentic. It's not authentic. And the good thing is that we have put up some links where you can verify these documents which are forged. We have addresses on those documents. When you look at the certificate of good conduct and the police clearance, we have an address. If you are an employer and someone has tendered these documents to you, you can go on those addresses and you write back to us just to confirm whether these documents are authentic. Also, those people who have a QR reader, you can also punch in those QR codes which we put on the documents just to test its authenticity. It has some security features, but one of the most important one is your what we call a subject ID number. Subject ID number is always on the top of the document with the letter CI as the last letter. That number is permanent, like you asked. That number, if you have it, we have it in your system. You can even apply from Europe and say, this is my former police clearance certificate, please, I would want you to renew it for me. You don't have to take fingerprints. Take them once, and that number, we'll use that number to renew. And we shall do the same until our system may be upgraded. When we upgrade to another system, maybe we shall give you another number. But see, when we have that number in our system, you've done that process once. If you have never done it, it means we cannot handle your issue remotely when you are far away and you want this service to be done. So we shall require you to first come and take fingerprints. Once you take them, you can keep renewing without physically coming. I could be in Mbarara and send my apply and send my police clearance certificate to that center. They will be able to work on it without you having to come physically at the center. That's the advantage of actually doing that process legitimately. When you use the blockers and shortcuts, know that at one point you are going to be stuck and be required to fly back here, or you are going to courier foreign fingerprints from a foreign country to Uganda. Yes.
You mentioned renewal, so I just want to understand the process of renewing this certificate. Do I incur more costs? Like if Carlos goes to say I had a certificate but I want a new one now, the other one expired, do I incur more charges, and how is the process of renewal?
Renewal is actually a little bit easier than actually when you are freshly applying, because renewal, one, you don't have to physically be there, and two, when you are renewing, the payment system is the same. You apply, But you don't have to go through lineups and being physical there. You can even tell someone to do that process for you as long as the original police clearance, the former certificate, is attached. The only circumstance where you may be required to redo this process again is if your documents have changed. For example, you've got a new passport. When you have a new passport and you are applying, this is for your own good. How? The new document you're carrying, we don't have it in our system, and it's going to appear on your certificate. So that's a problem. So it's better you update us that now I have a new passport. You will capture your identity now with a new passport. So it's the process is the same for both documents. You will have to present police clearance certificate, then we shall redo the same process without you being physically there. So the new process, you will deposit the documents where the center you've selected. If you have selected Naguru, you deposit at Naguru. If it's Kololo, you deposit at Naguru or Entebbe Airport.
Thank you so much. It's been a very beautiful discussion with Superintendent of Police Kitagenda Sadiq. Any last words before we wrap up to the public?
Maybe one thing I could have forgotten. Back then, I'm not repeating the discussion, but back then, people used to line up for days without being served. But when we brought our technological platforms where people can do the application and book an appointment, we actually reached out to the local person. Because back then you could be there, you came in the morning and big people come just pass you by.
Exactly.
And then the day you are closed out. So these technological platforms are helping the members of the public actually to be served uniformly, whether you're big or small. Everyone has to go and book a date, and when you come, you are expected that we are waiting for so and so. It's actually the only person we are waiting for to start to cross because he has not come. We expect you to be there that day. So it eliminated this issue of mutua wansi to be, because you are there and then big people just come, phone call, I'm here, come and they capture you. So if I have booked and I'm there, I'm sure I'm going to be worked on.
Okay.
Yeah, so I encourage members of the public to actually use these platforms because they are there to make sure we have equal, access to services. Every member of the public has equal access to services. You don't have to know anyone. You can apply, and that's how we shall know you. You will be our big person that day. Yeah, thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. You heard it from the police. Please do not fear to interact with police at any one time. As you have heard it from the horse's mouth, this certificate is eligible. If you are eligible to get it, then it is available for you so long as you are Ugandan. Even if you are a foreigner, even if you're a Ugandan in the diaspora, you can still get a certificate of good conduct. That was the discussion we had for Issues at Hand. My name is Carol Noamani. Keep it Family TV. We have a lot more things coming your way, and don't forget to go visit Protea Hotel by Marriott in Entebbe for your luxury and spending time with your loved ones out of home. They have a swimming pool, they have a gym, they have a fully fledged kitchen and rooms in case you want to spend the night. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.